Hey, welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I'm gonna give you guys a deck profile of a deck I've been running lately. It's super fun, super enjoyable. It's inspired by Aerosol TCG, so if you guys know what I'm talking about, it's gonna be Earth Machine, or I like to call it the T.I.M deck, Trains Infinite Track Machina deck. But I like to call it the T.I.M deck because it's a fun name to give it, and it's kind of funny to say you just got wrecked by T.I.M. But anywho, let's go ahead and jump right into the profile. This deck is super fun. It's actually pretty competitive. It may do a lot. Sometimes they have, it's funny, the joke of my locals like this deck does so much but it ends on nothing. But it's not the point of this deck. This deck is pretty much designed to grind like there's no tomorrow. And then once your opponent is out of the resources that they need to continue, you just go ahead and give them a quick OTK to clean up the game. So starting off, we're gonna have triple Infinite Track Harvester. This card is the bread and butter of the deck. Super fun. You gotta run it at 3. It is a mandatory at 3. Follow up, I'm also running triple copies of Infinite Track Brutal Dozer. This deck is also known as Dozer Control. Dozer is also a key component. Usually you go Infinite Track to search Dozer, and then Dozer is what starts your combos going. So triple Dozer. Next, I run double Trencher. It looks pretty good. Pretty much banishes the revive from the graveyard. Super nice, super good effect. But yeah, I run 2 of them. You really don't want 1-3 because it's kind of a brick in the hand, but you keep it at 2, so if you do draw 1, you use Dozer to search for the second one. And then I run 1 Tunneler. This bad boy right here is one of the best cards in the deck. It is pretty much a Pot of Avarice in monster form, and turn 1 objective is to go ahead and fill your graveyard with a bunch of monsters, including Tunneler. Go ahead and revive it, or not revive it, banish it. You get yourself a draw 2. Super nice. This card is really the bread and butter of this deck. Helps you get into what you need to get into. This is another one of is Infinite Track Anchor Drill. This card is pretty good if you're trying to go for the close game. Most of the time, I use another card, Ancient Gearbox, to search this card. But even if you start with this card, it is again still a combo starter. There's just different combos you go into depending what you have in hand. Next is going to be getting into the Machina package of this deck. I am going to go ahead and show you I run 3 Middle Crunchers, also another combo starter. Like I said, this deck is full of combo. There's like honestly about 12 combo starters, 2 monster forms, 2 spell forms, but you max it on each of them. So 3 Middle Cruncher. Also good to happen if you open a Middle Cruncher and Machina redeployment. Great, gives you access to overdrives, which you ideally want in this deck. I run 1 Machina Fortress. I have been playing with 2. 2 was super nice in the very grindy games. 2 does come handy. I just been cutting it down to 1 because I am changing my deck up a bit. This one is going to be a different kind of format what I've been playing. I've been playtesting different things, but this is my standard build here. Machina Fortress, so I keep it at 1. Super nice card, very good recursion. And then one of the boss monsters of this deck, Citadel. Citadel is the GOAT. A lot of decks have trouble defeating Citadel just because of the fact that he's a one-sided Regeki, which is super nice. And he has a great effect if an Earth Machine is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can revive him from graveyard. So ideally you always want Citadel in graveyard, so if anything gets busted or destroyed, Citadel comes back, wipes your opponent's board, and then you still have extra material resources to go continue for game. But Citadel's one of the best cards in this deck as well. Super good, super fun. Next we're gonna hop into the train portion of this deck. It's a very small train package. I run 1 Super Stress Bullet Train. I played a few versions where I ran it just at 3, because this card is one of the pretty much an infinite resource loop of the deck, since it allows you to revive cards back from your graveyard or add an Earth Machine, not necessarily revive, but add an Earth Machine back to your hand. He's part of the infinite recursion resource loop. Super nice, super fun to use. But I only run 1 because he's easily searchable in this deck, and that's kind of just it. He's super searchable, super fun to use. Mostly because it's an extra free special summon if you already have Earth Machines on the field. So I like only running 1 of them, but it was fun running 2. But I have found more success at just 1. Another part of the train package is going to be double Derricane. I know a lot of people have been running only 1 Derricane, and I understand why. You don't really want to have breaks in your hand. But the nice part about Duracrane is the fact that it's a chain blocker, or at least in TCG standard or in TCG format. You could chain block with a harvester or whatever combo sorter you have. Some of that, then chain Duracrane, and they have to respond to this. Also, Duracrane's a free level 10 summon, which is super nice. Ideally, I would like to open up my hand with one of these or both. Mostly one. I would prefer to open with the Duracrane just because it's easy. Like I said, it's a chain blocker. But I ran 2. I used to run 3, but 3 to me felt a little too bricky, but it is what it is. So I kept my 2, and I kind of like 2. 2's been a nice number for me. Next up is a 1 Garnet, 1 Hard Garnet, Ancient Gearbox. It sucks opening the box because you do not want to open box ideally. You want to fetch box from deck to hand. But there's combos and lines of plays that you could, if you open up a box, you can recycle it back and then search for it, and it gives you the advantage you need it for. But ideally, you do not want to open box. But box is super cool in this deck. It searches out more freaking material. Like, use this to search for Tunnel Lair, use this to search for Anchor Drill and Trencher. It pretty much searches to your main, well, 2 main components of your deck and 1 good component for game. But Ancient Gearbox, run 1 of that. You don't want to draw more into it because it's really searchable in this deck. Next up are going to be my hand traps. My hand traps are more geared towards my locals. I tend to run 6 hand traps in my deck. Triple Joe Unlock, because Joe Unlock is super good against the current meta. It kind of puts a pause on Dragon Link, even though Dragon Link needs like 2-3 hand traps to stop him really. But Joe Unlock Bird is a good way to put them on check for a bit. And then next I run Triple Ash Blossom, the most generic hand trap we got. Super good, super useful. Y'all know what she does. After that, I'm going to be showing my spells. In this deck, I only really run 6 spells. And these are also combo sorters as well, like I was saying earlier. Machina Redeployment. Love it. Gives me access to Citadel, gives me access to Fortress. If I have a Machina in hand, usually if I have Middle Cruncher, if I have any of the other Machinas, use that. Searches out for the trap card, Machina Overdrive. Super vital part of this deck as well. So I run triple Machina Redeployment. After that, I run triple Heavy Forward. I could get Searcher for my Infinite Track engine. I like to use Heavy Forward first. If I have, let's say if I open a Harvester and Heavy Forward, sorry. I use Heavy Forward first to bait out any Ash Blossoms or anything like that, because if I don't get ashed, I'm gonna go ahead and search for Dozer, so I can summon Harvester and use Harvester effect to search. If I get Gamut, that fucking sucks. And it does happen from time to time. That's why I like to use Heavy Forward to bait hand traps. Pretty good. This deck is actually pretty good to play around Nibiru, play around most of the hand traps. Drone Lockbird plays around pretty well. Drone Lockbird does suck if you get hit with it, but you gotta do what you gotta do, keep moving. Nibiru, depending where you get Nibiru at, you can still move forward about it. And Ash Blossom, usually Ash Blossom isn't that hurtful depending what you got in your hand. There's always extenders. Next, I'm gonna move into the trap portion. This deck is very much a control deck. I tend to run a heavy trap package. I run about 9 traps. I think I run about 20, 24, 25-ish. Actually a little bit more than that. I run a good amount of monsters compared to my spells and traps. I know I'm at 9 traps and I'm at 6 spells. So what is that, 15? Yeah, wow, it is 25. I think math was on point. 25 monsters and then 6 spells, 9 traps. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with TT. TT is a super good trap. I like running it at 2 just because it doesn't hurt to destroy your own monsters. Like I said, Citadel brings himself back from the grave. So you want it, TT isn't that detrimental to you. So TT, I tend to use to my opponent's board, and no one really sees TT coming. Now people are catching on because like the format is changing a bit more trap heavy, but TT is super good. Gets rid of your opponent's board, and then it doesn't necessarily leave you anything as well. Since Citadel brings itself back, you bring back a 3k beat stick, which is against a second TT really, or a Geki. So either way, your opponent is going to be left with nothing on board, depending how you play it out. But I run double TT, super good trap. Next, Dino-Miscus. I been playing with Dino-Miscus. I also been using, an honorable mention here will be EMR. EMR and Dino-Miscus could be hand in hand or swapped for each other. EMR is super nice, but only problem with EMR is that if you have the machine on field, it isn't live, which is very unfortunate. And the fact that it destroys and sends to graveyard, rather this card go ahead and targets to banish and this targets to destroy. So to pick your poison, I personally been running Dynamiscus, but I have seen a good amount of success too with EMR. It's just like I said, EMR isn't usually live if I have no machines on the field, while Dynamiscus is consistently live as long as I have a card in hand, and most of the time I always have cards in hand. So you can always swap for each other, but right now I've been meaning Dynamiscus. EMR is a great honorable mention. I do use that card from time to time depending on what I feel like I want to run. And then next up, I have 2 copies of IDP. IDP is super good card right now. Like most of you guys already know what it does. IDP is good to get rid of problematic cards on the field. Go ahead and snipe your opponent, get rid of graveyard, banish, do what it has to do. So I run double IDP. Next is the final traps I have in this deck. It's gonna be Machina Overdrive. This card is the GOAT. Sats only comes in common, but I mean it is what it is. Hopefully it gets a reprint soon at a higher rarity. But Machina Overdrive is a super fun card. Pretty much gives me access to any of the Machina monsters. Gives me access to Citadel. Gives me access to Cruncher if I need to. Targets, special summons, then destroys, which works. Say if you have Citadel in graveyard already, this bad boy will get you a Machina monster and then bring out Citadel right after. Clutch. And then the second effect, the graveyard effect, is which is the most important effect. It recycles your banished material. So Tunneler, Trencher both banish themselves to add a special summon or recycle 5 or draw 2. This bad boy banishes itself to recycle those 2 or 3, whatever. It carries you to shuffle back in 3 from either banish or graveyard, which is dope. It's an and or. And then you could go ahead and draw 1. So not only does it shuffle back Tunneler and Trencher, it gives you a draw 1, which is super nice. And then it goes ahead and puts your cards back in the deck, which you need to continue your grind. So like I said, this deck is all about the grind. Shout out to Earth Machines. They're well-oiled machines. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and move on into the extra deck. Right now, I am running double-header Anchor Knuckle. I've been usually playing with this at 2, but I was trying a new build. I'll explain a little bit more in the video, but I was trying a new build, so right now I only have them at 1, but I might move back to having this at 2. Double-header Anchor Knuckle, pretty nice. Helps pretty much extend as part of your main combo. Usually end your first turn board with this bad boy. Another good one is Dengrusu. Dengrusu is pretty easy to go to. Gearbox and Knuckle. Dengrusu is super fun, easy to get into. Next, I've been trying him out too. Number 90, Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. Super good card. Helps me push for game when I need to push for game. This card is good to add in addition. It could be swapped out with something else, but I kind of been liking the Light Warrior just because usually, since he has a monster negate, this deck doesn't really put out monster negates. That's why he relies on his traps to help a lot. But the boards that it makes are kind of tough to get over in a way. But number 90, super fun card. Go to ED. Next is number 81, Dora. Dora is ideally your in turn 1 board should be Dora and then Knuckle. That's why I put 2 Derek Crane, because Derek Crane I want to open up, but most of the time if I have Derek Crane and then Super Express Bullet Train, that's an easy Dora. And then Dora is just pretty much a huge wall your opponent has very trouble getting over, especially when it's effect. If I activate the effect, it's just pretty much impossible to get over. But I run 1 Dora, 1 Zeus, and this deck is Exceeds heavy deck, so Zeus is super good. If I need to clear a board, if I'm going to push to a corner, I know I can bring out the big boy Zeusy. Another infinite track that's part of your bread and butter as well. It's going to be Riverstormer. This card searches out any Earth Machine from your deck, so whatever card you're missing, or if you need an extender or whatever you want, I use Riverstormer. I usually use Riverstormer to bring out Super Express Bullet Train to my hand to start beginning my loop, my resource loop. But it's Riverstormer, run it at 1 because it recycles stuff from the graveyard. Next is going to be triple Infinite Goliath, Infinite Track Goliath. Easy link 1, use it to combo off, use it to feed your graveyard. Ideally, when you use Tunneler's effect, you don't really put cards from your main deck or your graveyard into your main deck. It's usually recycling a bunch of extra deck monsters. So you're digging through your deck and recycling extra deck monsters to continue to dig and dig and dig. So I like using this deck just because it gives you a lot of hand advantage and it's super fun to use. Another one for my links is going to be Ancient Gear Ballista. This card is pretty much used to search for Gearbox, which when you search your Gearbox, gives you another search. So you're going +2 just off Ballista. That's why I like using that's why I like drawing Gearbox, because it's super searchable. Searching it is part of your combo. So ideally you don't want to open it, best where you run the ballista to search out the Gearbox. I have a few more exceeds I'm gonna go through right here. Infinite Track Earth Slicer, a nice rank 9, clears the board. It's also a big chungus, so it helps get rid of the stuff, and it's also recyclable from the graveyard as long as you have a Goliath on the field or any Link monster. But Earth Slicer is used to pretty much clear boards. Super fun. Rank 9. Then another rank 9 I got is gonna be Phantom Fortress Enter Blatnir. Blatnir is good just because it gets rid of problematic cards that can't be targeted or can't be destroyed. Non-targeting banish. Boom, say less. Phantom Fortress Enter Blatnir is own it. Rank 10 of mine, another rank 10 is gonna be the boy Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustavo Max. I love bringing this card out because usually my opponent sees this, they know it's damn near almost a GG right there at that point, because it burns for 2,000, and then I easily just rank up to the man, the myth, the legend, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon, Juggernaut Libe. And this card, usually if this card's on field, it's a game. It's literally gonna be over because it's a 6K beat stick, and if I don't finish the game, I'm gonna have at least 2 materials to it, and I'm just gonna go straight into my boy Zeus over here. If I can find my boy Zeus, then I just easily go back into the Zeusy boy and then clear the board. And usually next game after that, it's a GG's. And then like I said, I was running an extra double head of Anchor Knuckle, but I also have been testing a new build. I have decided to add, because we had recently Ghost in the Past released, so Shaddoll Genius has been introduced to the TCG now. So I actually have been running a small Shaddoll package in my latest build. I tried it in my locals a few times. The last 2 tournaments I tried this in my local. It's super nice, but when I throw this package in, I usually run the deck at 43. I cut one of the Joel and Lockbirds to go ahead and give space for another Shaddoll. So I wrote in 2 Shaddoll Fusions and 2 Neo Shaddoll Genius. And I usually mix that up with this bad boy, El Shaddai Shank. I cannot pronounce that game name, but y'all know who the hell I'm talking about. It's right here. So yeah, I usually I first tried it with 2 and 1, but at the time when I'll bring this bad boy out using Shaddoll Fusion and this is more of a go second package. If I throw this in, like I'm gonna have to go second in order to bring this out, and then Bullet Train will bring these back to hand to make this negate effect live. But I decided to run 2. So in the odd chance I do draw into 1 and I can use my Shaddoll Fusion, as soon as this hits the field, it becomes live because I have 1 in hand. And then Shaddoll Genius, Neo Shaddoll Genius is actually a pretty good card because it gets easily discarded if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, which what Shaddoll Fusion does and what this does. It has options for you to go ahead and negate a monster on the field, or pretty much pause them from being activated that turn. So I was running this package. I might throw it back in because I kind of do like the fact of using a Shaddoll package, because I actually played Dragon Link my last tournament, and that game, it got pretty grindy in that game. And then Shaddoll, Dragon Link always ends with a freaking extra deck monster, and I drew the Shaddoll Fusion for turn. I was like, bro, blessing. Shaddoll Fusion into this bad boy. And also it's a level 10, so it helps you get into your rank 10s as well. But yeah, I tried playing with it. I might throw it back in. I just cut it down for a little bit because I want to test it out. Next is going to be the side deck. Side deck is kind of more geared towards my locals in a way. A few of them are going to be generic, a few of them are something I add in myself. So first things first is triple Artifact Lancia. Super good. Hand trap. Any tribal game matches up, shuts them down. If I'm playing against Outledge, once they send us Sanguine or any Harketo, Conquistador to grave, I just chain Lancia so they can't get the resource at least for 1 turn. So I run triple Artifact Lancia. A good going second card in this deck is Urgent Schedule. So a lot of people usually main Urgent Schedule, and I understand why, because it gives you access to Citadel, especially if you don't win the die roll, you're forced to go first or second, and you kind of want this. But I prefer it in a side rather than main, because if you go first, open up with this card becomes kind of useless. You don't really need it on field. Yeah, you can set it and hopefully get sent to the graveyard, and that gives you a free level 10 search. But ideally, I don't want to really open this going first. I try to go first. Try to win the die rolls, luck of the Irish. But Urgent Schedule, I keep it to my side deck just because of the fact that if I definitely know I'm going second, I just throw this into my deck and have a higher chance of drawing into it. I would say you can run it at 3, but I prefer it at 2 because, like I said, if you it could become a dead card in hand most of the time. So I keep it at 2 and run that on the side. Next, I have my anti-back row package. I mean, I kind of do main out to some problematic back rows, like Dynamiscus is there for that reason, to out back row. And EMR was used to the same as well as a main to out back row. But I run double twin twister and the Heartbeat Feather Duster. Nice cards to have. Pretty much do what they go do. This card pops 2, this card pops the whole back, and I don't mind discarding some cards to the graveyard because I know I can easily get them back. So I run that. My 3 back row anti-back row package. And another going second card would be triple Dark Ruler No More, especially going up against Dragon Link or any like heavy monster negate fields or freaking Tri-Brigade. Dark Ruler No More comes super handy when it comes to going second, negate the whole board and could combo off and pretty much pop their board from that. Next is the next cards are definitely geared towards my locals. Take it for what we want. Royal Decree. And it's been interesting that I am running triple Royal Decree in a side deck because my deck main pretty much consists of 9 traps. But if I know I'm going up against Outlich or a trap heavy deck and I'm going second, I honestly side out damn near all my traps except for Machina Overdrive. I might keep it at 2 and throw Royal Decree in because the Royal Decree will put a huge pin in their fucking place. It pretty much transforms my deck from being a control deck necessarily, like a trap heavy control deck, just to running minimal traps, running a bunch of hand traps and spells. So I switched it up and I use Royal Decree to help stop my opponent. The next one is kind of against, like I said, geared towards me. I use red. I like citing the red reboot. Honestly, I've been playing with red reboot or Imperial Order since my deck only runs 6 spells. Sorry. I've been thinking of maining Imperial Order as my 41 card just because I don't really rely on my spells as often. And Imperial Order honestly can stop a lot of people. Usually, like I have a Pranket player at my locals that's a bit rough. He always gets me. But I also run Royal Decree because his main win con is using Peekaboo, and that's very rough on my deck. Red Reboot. So I run a reboot just as a 1-up because it's a good 1-up. You can't go wrong with that. Another honorable mention I was planning to do with this deck is running Gozen Match, and this maining Gozen Match as another floodgate because I feel like this deck is super great, super fun. It does have its moments where it could be a little bricky, but majority of the time, like I said, it has 1 card combo starters, 10 deck best deck. I'm gonna have a video coming out soon where I'm gonna be giving test hands out or showing test hands, and I actually have a dueling book replay I was gonna go through of me running this deck. I usually run this deck a lot on dueling book, run this deck a lot on my locals. Super fun deck. If I'm not running Witchcrafter, I am definitely running this deck, and I actually run this deck a lot more than Witchcrafter. Like Earth Machines, top notch. Definitely have a potential to be a meta contender deck, depending how the format changes and when the ban list gets hit. It definitely could see its rise. I know it's getting a little bit more popularity going on right now, which is super fun, super dope. I'm glad to see more people are enjoying this deck. That's kind of just it for today, y'all. If you guys used the deck before, let me know in the comments below. Would you guys have any recommendations? Anything else you'd like to see me try out? Or you guys want to have any suggestions for this deck? Please let me know. If you are running this deck, let me know what success you're having with, guys. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you so much. Until next time, y'all.